In this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I went from drinking at 16 to having complete chaos in my life, to turning 30, being now 5 years sober. Most importantly, I'm going to explain how I did it and how you can do it. This video is going to be very brutal and honest. It's not going to be edited and some of it's not going to be pretty. But the best thing about it is there's going to be loads of parts that you can relate to. So let's start off. At the age of 16, I started drinking alcohol and taking drugs. Typically, it started off as drinking up the park, having a few cans of Strongbow, maybe a few pills here and there, and then eventually, before I know it, I was 18 years of age. My mother kicked me out of my house and I was living on my own. And I remember living in this big house and I had like my own room. I could basically do whatever I wanted to do. And I used to live in this area called Uplands in Swansea, where I'm from in the UK. And it's basically like going into town, and town is not too far away. So if you can imagine, I was 18 years of age. I was actually unemployed at the time. I was doing things I'm not going to tell you because, pretty illegal and dodgy. But I had money. I had loads of friends who had loads of free time to do what we wanted to do. I would have house parties where I would use cocaine, I would drink, smoke cigarettes, and I used to get into fights. So let's talk about how things used to go pear-shaped. When I was 18 years of age, I had a girlfriend, and I remember she had these friends in college, these rugby dudes, and I didn't like them. We were in a nightclub one night, and I was with my friends. These dudes were there, and something happened on the dance floor. We got into a massive fight. Big scuffle broke out, and I just remember like trying to leave this place. I was walking down this corridor in this nightclub, and I couldn't find my way out because it was a new nightclub. And then this guy who I just had an argument with was coming towards me. Basically, I had a fight with him. He ended up worse. I actually went to prison. So I was on bail for about a year, went to prison when I was 19. I got sentenced to 9 months for GBH. I did 3 months, come out on tag. And I remember coming straight back out, being on tag, and then just going straight to my mate's house, being on house parties. I remember ringing up the tag office saying that my car had broken down so I could stay like an extra half an hour at my mate's house party. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Then basically what happened was I started working, I got a girlfriend, and you guys will know, like, being in a relationship, keeps you on the straight and narrow to a certain point. But if you've experienced problem with alcohol and drugs, you'll always go back to what you were if you don't have the right structure in place. And that's why this video is so important. Anyway, I had this girlfriend, everything was going great. I would usually go out probably about maybe 2 to 3 times a month when I was with her. Usually we'd have an argument and then I'd go off the rails for 3 days, wouldn't speak to her. I'd end up in a house party doing exactly what I used to do when I was single. But I remember one night I was staying over at her house and she fell asleep. So I went to the pub with her brother. Went to the pub, ended up, some boy was in my face for no reason at all. I didn't do anything wrong. Had an argument, went outside, his friends there, got into another fight. Actually left the scene of the fight, ran straight to her house, and her mum answered the door, and I told her mum what had happened. I'm talking to her mum, and then there's like knocking on the door. There's like this family of the boy that I just had a fight with. So she's like, go to the attic. So I hid in the attic. Then the police turn up. I can hear like something downstairs. And then she comes upstairs. She's like, the police are coming. The police are coming. Be quiet. I remember being in this attic conversion. I'm like hiding around where like the insulation is. And the police come up and they're like shining torches. And anyway, they saw my feet and they arrested me. So back on bail and was going to prison again. I was on bail for about a year and a half and then I went to prison. Came out of prison and basically had to turn my life around. So the first thing I did, I signed up to college to be an electrician. At the time, I was living with my dad. My dad was very sick. He had MS. He got sick when I was like 10. So I didn't really have a dad, like a proper dad figure growing up, like to keep me on the straight and narrow. So I could basically do what I want. I didn't have a good relationship with my mum. And yeah, I was pretty much allowed to go off the rails. So anyway, living with my dad very sick, couldn't walk, had MS. And I had to sort myself out. So I decided to go to college. Obviously, the partying didn't stop. So I'd have college on a Tuesday. I actually used to go out on the weekend and stay up like all weekend, drinking, doing cocaine, partying. And I barely made it through college. Like I had to reset my exam 3 times in the second year to actually pass it. And if I didn't pass it, I've had to redo the whole year. So anyway, I passed the second year. And I'm working on site as like a trainee electrician. And I get a call from my friend one day and he's like, do you want to go work in Belgium? And I'm like, yeah. I always wanted to leave Swansea. I always wanted to have a successful life, earn good money. So we go to Belgium, catch a plane to Belgium. First day we get there, first night rather, we go out, have food, start drinking Belgian beers and go to work hungover the next day. Nothing happens, we're fine. But then I start earning really good money. I'm on like £1,500 a week and I'm only 27. And this is going back like 10 years ago. So it's quite a lot of money for me. And if you can imagine, we're living in Belgium. We used to go to Amsterdam like every other weekend. We used to go to Paris, Germany. That just gave me like unlimited funds to spend on cocaine, alcohol. Like, if you can imagine, like money amplifies what you are. So if you're a business owner, a professional, or you've got a lot of disposable income, it's really good, but it can be a double-edged sword. So anyway, I'm out in Europe just going crazy, spending loads of money on massive come downs, actually going to work and hiding my hangover, spewing everywhere because I'm so hungover, just getting through the days. And I remember then our job comes to an end. So I go back to Swansea for a week and it was over Christmas. Go back to the same friends, in a house party, doing coke. Everyone's just doing the same sort of stuff. And I'm just thinking, I just can't wait to get out of this life, but my environment is keeping me trapped. Anyway, you get a call to go to Denmark to work on a data center for Facebook. So I go to Denmark. I drive my car on my own to Denmark. Took like 2 days, 15 hours. Get there, and then within about 3 weeks of working there, I meet these Irish guys, and they're like, you should go to Australia. I'm an action taker, and if you're watching this video, you probably are too. I go home, I apply for my visa, it gets accepted. But here's the interesting part. I've got a criminal record. I've got ABH and GBH on my record, which means I had to lie on my visa. So anyway, 3 weeks later, after applying for this visa and it getting accepted straight away, I basically catch a plane to Sydney. I remember my mum saying they'll stop you at the border, don't go, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was really panicking on this flight. Like, if you can imagine, like, I'm from the UK. I've only known, like, being in prison, like, going to house parties, doing drugs, drinking. Like, this ticket is like, if I get into Australia, my whole life will change. So anyway, I'm like filling in the card when you get to Australia. And it's like asking you, like, do you have a criminal record? Do you have to, do you need to declare anything on this card? So I'm like, oh, I better tick this box. I better tick this box, right? Because if I tick it wrong and it says I have something to declare, they're going to question me. So anyway, I'm queuing at the customs. This is a very long story, guys. I'm queuing at customs. Anyway, I get to the front of the queue, give my passport to the woman. She's like, nice modeling photo, and she lets me in. I get into the car park in Sydney, and I'm just like, I have literally just made my life. Like I've literally got into this country now, and it's a fresh start. And do you know what? I got into Australia, and I started drinking more than I'd ever drank, and I couldn't find cocaine. I remember within like the first week, I almost got into 3 fights. I was staying in a hostel next to a nightclub where I met this girl who turned out to be my girlfriend for like 4 years. Obviously, we didn't last. But I remember almost getting to like 3 fights in that week. If I got into a fight, I would have got sent back straight away. Anyway, thankfully, I didn't. And then I continued to drink and I was living like I was 20 again, when actually I was just about to turn 30. And then I could find cocaine. I got a number for cocaine and I was just back to the Ben that I was. I turned 30, right? Not long after I'd been in Australia. And I remember Conor McGregor was making his return to the UFC. And all I wanted to do was go watch the UFC with my friends. And I remember the night before we went out, we drank, I did coke, didn't sleep very well. The next day, Sunday afternoon, the UFC was on. All the guys that I was friends with went to the pub before I got there, and then they said nobody else can come in. So I was like, okay, we'll go to another pub. And they were like, oh, we're going to stay here. And then that moment kind of hit me, and it was like, right, okay, so I've just turned 30. None of my friends want to spend, none of my friends want to do what I want to do, was watch the UFC. So I've got the worst friends ever. My girlfriend's looking at me thinking, you don't have any friends. Like, and I'm just thinking, what a loser I am. I think it was about a couple of weeks after that, I turned to her one day and I just said, that's it, I'm not drinking anymore. Oh, actually, before that, I was working away. So I'm in a caravan park. Yeah, this is where the penny drops. So I'm in a caravan park doing regional electrical work with this Irish lad. And we've been out Friday, Saturday, and it was now Sunday. And we're watching Masvidal and Usman, number one. And I remember him just like doing what you do with the gear. And I was just waiting for him to give me one. And I remember I had the worst anxiety. And I was thinking, like, I've got work tomorrow. I haven't slept all weekend. Whatever size he gives me of that line is not going to be enough for me. And I just remember just cracking and just saying, I said, that's it, I'm done. Like, no more. And he just looks at me and laughs. And I was serious. That day, I stopped. Got back to Sydney, saw my girlfriend. I said, that's it, I'm done, no more drinking. She's like, okay, babe, okay, cool. We ended up breaking up after that. And I was going through a breakup. It was really bad. I was obviously living away at the time as well, working, in a bogan area. I had no friends around me. And I came back to Sydney one weekend and I went out with these friends that I usually used to go out and drink with and do substance with. And we planned to go for food. And I tell them, like, I'm not drinking. They're like, yeah, it's fine. So we go back to my mate's house and then he just passes me a beer after I've told him I'm not drinking and I'm 3 months sober. Anyway, I end up drinking. They order bags. And then before I know it, I'm up with them. And it's just the worst feeling ever. Everyone goes to bed. I'm sitting on the sofa, 6 a.m. in the morning, like no cigarettes, no alcohol. My car isn't there. It's like parked somewhere else. I've got this massive drive into regional New South Wales. I'm like, how did I let this happen? So that day onwards, I've not drank or taken cocaine since. I'm now over 5 years sober. And I want to make this clear. I wasn't an addict. I could say no. I could go like a month without using. I could go as far as 2 months when I was fighting in kickboxing. But it was destroying my life. And you might notice this in your life. Like, you think you're good. You've got money. You've got a relationship, nice car. You might have a family. People depend on you. You think you don't have a problem. But if you look back, you're not actually in control. And probably at least the last 3 years have been the same cycle. You're probably 30, going on towards 40. What makes you think if you don't sort this problem out now, that the next 10 years is going to be any different? And that's the harsh realization that I had. So let's talk about my sober journey. I actually signed up to college to be an electrician. The idea came when I was in a house party with my friend. I said, I want to be an electrician. Worst idea ever. That job was completely not aligned with me. And I believe it was one of the reasons why I used to go out on the weekends and sabotage myself. Quite simply because I wasn't living in alignment with what I wanted to do in life. So I think it was like 2 years into sobriety, like after going down a massive personal development journey. I was like trying online businesses, drop shipping, building websites, marketing agencies, and I had a taste for it. And then I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't want to be a Sparky anymore. Like, I really want to go out there and get the life I want. Like, I've quit alcohol, I've quit cocaine, I've got full control over my life. Like, I want to go do something with myself. So anyway, I get this sponsorship in Australia. I spent 5 years trying to get sponsored as an electrician, and I finally got offered it by a company. I had to pay $15,000 out of my own money to get it. I paid it. And because I'd lied on my criminal record, it would have meant that I would have had to spend 60,000 more to like fight the legal costs. And I just wasn't prepared to do it. So I decided, after making content just for fun about sobriety and like self-development, I was like, right, I'm gonna go full on this. I'm gonna make YouTube videos. I'm gonna share my message. I'm gonna see if people want to listen to me and see if I can actually help them. And then I left Australia with my life savings, which is probably about a year and a half ago now. At the age of 35, I restarted my life. I took a one-way flight to Bali, which is the classic that you always hear, but that is the actual truth. And I've never been happier. I am in full control of my life. And I found myself saying that I actually love my life. Like, I actually love myself and I love my life. And that has only happened in the last couple of months. And I believe it is because I'm on the path of true alignment. I'm in the right vibrational frequency. I'm doing what I get to do every single day. And if I didn't remove alcohol and cocaine, that would have never have happened. So I just want to basically outline my journey for you. A lot of people think quitting alcohol and cocaine will just fix your life instantly, and that's just not the case. Like, you do have to go through a period of time where you don't know who you are, and then you lose friends. And I've spoken about this before. There's been a lot of times in Australia when I was sober where I'd split up with my girlfriend. All the people I used to hang around with, I just didn't align with them anymore. They're going out drinking, going to house parties, and obviously I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. There was so many times where I was just sat with a pizza with my rescue cat that I was fostering, just, watching Netflix, thinking like, is this really the life? Is this really life for me now? Like, is this as exciting as it's ever going to get? And if you're someone who's going through the journey of being sober, or maybe you've tried a couple of times and you've gone through the lonely phase, like, you just need to push through. I'm 36 years of age now. I quit when I was 30. And yeah, my life's going pretty well. So I just wanted to share that story with you. And I hope that helps. Oh, by the way, if you want to book a call with me, there's a link below. Fill in your details and you can book a clarity call with me and we can have a chat and see if I can help you.